The business is like, the camera's just gonna read black.
Not in the
I
water.
mean, if you're busy, that's.
You guys sell your own?
That's smart as far as my education. Teach these kids out of the trades are good.
Oh, so you're already selling.
Also,
Yeah, we've had.
the downside, corporate, because they don't do anything, they don't do all kinds of legacy. And I work for I'm laid off from the ship. Sharp pretty. Are you lobbying for the school now?
Like any.
No, I'm here with Mackenzie. She's getting in the morning.
Oh,
I was thinking, I looked in your find out. I said, what's that?
This is a great thing. What's he using?
That's what I heard when I saw it. I'm like, that's so hard. And then I'm like, oh, that's what that is. I'm gonna try that.
Like we sell marketing, sponsorships, whatever you want to
I
call it.
bought the weed whatever down there.
You can't, like if we sell one.
Tractor?
That's considered
I was trying to do some my place down here.
unfair prices, because everybody's gonna get it at the same price.
Can't give away beer. I think you can invest in this. If you know what you're doing. They say the kids are late.
There's no concern with us selling it cheaper than anyone else.
I think it's a great place.
Like going to the waterfront, you don't get a, profit with that.
No, you're right.
We're getting
Like
close.
interesting enough, I was surprised the last time I was there. They're right in comparison to, yeah, like TV, Bruins game, or something.
There's a couple reasons for that too, is you want it expensive enough so that people generally don't spend $100.
Use it right.
On the way to
You
decide.
know those little nips, bought for like a couple bucks probably.
She's getting off
$11
the
per.
elevator and.
Is that what they're doing?
$11, because I ordered a double whatever, it's $22. That's all it was, two
Getting on the
small.
elevator at a hotel in DC. They were there for their daughter's graduation. Sandy and Jackson were just there for sightseeing. They happened to be staying in the same hotel.
It's just crazy. It is crazy to go places to see people like up there.
She said, I remember him saying he was going to his daughter's graduation, but I didn't know it was in DC. What are the chances of him being at the same hotel? Right, yeah, those are, you know, see, yeah.
Everybody wants to get their mics cranked on.
These little letters.
You ready? Oh, we did.
Oh, you did? Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
we got him. I just put him back here because I didn't know if I was going to come or not.
Oh,
How long?
yes.
Okay.
Oh, she's saying it should be down low?
Yeah, well, you heard her, yeah.
Yeah.
She said when it's up high, it distorts and it's just too loud.
Oh,
She said,
good to know.
try mid and I tried that. She said,
Down low. All right.
it could be just me and my voice.
It's going to be taken.
Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Tuesday, May 28th, 2024 City Council meeting. Roll call. Councilor Smith is absent. All other councilors are present. This evening, Councilor Morrow will be sharing the invocation with us.
Everybody, please join me in the attitude of prayer. We pray for our country at all times, that all citizens are safe, healthy, and happy. We pray for wisdom for all those who guide and govern. Help this government body in every situation to know and to do the things that are right and just, with soundness of judgment in making vital decisions. We pray for the peacekeepers, that the holy life-giving spirit may never dwell in their hearts, and the barriers of fear, suspicion, and hatred may fail. This we pray to the Holy Father. Amen.
Amen. And if you would all rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Before we get started with the rest of the evening, does anybody have any conflict of interest that they would like to declare? Okay, perfect. Item number 5 on the agenda is public forum. Is there anybody from the public who wishes to speak this evening? Please come on up to the podium and state your name and address.
I was just telling Mr. Morell, it was 20 years ago I was here and presenting the school budget to you folks, so, not you, Mr. Morell. So it's good to be back again, in a different capacity. My name is Arthur Benner. I live at 32 Pioneer Avenue, which I built back in 1973, so 51 years later I'm still here. So it's a great neighborhood, a lot of good people, good neighbors. It's always been a great neighborhood to live in, and I'm glad that I made the decision to build there. But there is an issue in the neighborhood that it needs to be looked at by the council. And it's down the street from us on to the corner of Coolidge and Collins Street. If you've been by there, like many people on Pioneer, you go by there every day, so you can see what's happening. And there's a garage there, and there's a home there as well. And the garage seems to be a big issue. Sometimes the garage door is up, sometimes it isn't, but it doesn't have to be because one of the panels of the wall is kicked off. There's no door on the side. So anybody can go in and out at any time. My concern is two. One is it is a health hazard. The garage is filled with garbage, bags after bags after bags of garbage. None is leaving. It's there, it keeps building up. However, within the last week or so, I started to come down from Pioneer, and there's a pickup in that driveway, and I think, great, there they are, and it's got garbage in the back. And I thought, good deal. No, not a good deal. They were taking the garbage in the pickup and throwing it into the garage. That's not what I was hoping for. So it is a health issue. I mean, animals can go in and out of there with no problem. There's a problem with vermin and so on and so forth. There could be. Raccoons, skunks, you name it, there could be. And that's not healthy for anybody. Also, I think it's a fire hazard. I mean, it wouldn't take much. Somebody was smoking a cigarette that happened to be out there, what have you, or a match lit, and then that plastic goes quickly. And there's no time. There's neighbors on both sides, so it doesn't take long for that to spread, as the fire department knows. And also, just across the street and around the corner, there's a number of children that live in that area, and it's not a very good environment for them to be around that. Children are inquisitive. They go and they look at things. They want to, and that's not a place to be. Who knows what is in those garbage bags and what have you? So it's not a safe situation. So many people on Pioneer Avenue, we have talked, and I know that your city council has received quite a few number of people visiting or at least calling. It is a serious situation, and I would hope that you would take it as such and give it consideration of seeing if there's some way that we can alleviate that situation, clean that situation up, because it's a great neighborhood up there. A lot of good people, a lot of good homes, and people live there because they're proud of living in Caribou and the city of Caribou, as I am. So I thank you for your time, and I do hope you consider it and think about what we can do to make it a better neighborhood, like it always has been. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I think you'll be happy to know we are planning to address that property a little bit later on the agenda. So, yeah, we definitely have taken notice too. Okay, item number 6 on the agenda are the minutes from November 27th and December 11th. Has everyone had a chance to review those minutes? Okay, what are the wishes of the council?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we accept the motions as the minutes as presented.
Second?
Motion and seconded. Discussion? Bagley?
Aye.
Kelly? Aye. Lovewell? Aye. Morrell?
Aye.
Terrio?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, item number 7 on the agenda. This is a very exciting item on the agenda. So item 7A is the RSU 39 Principals Award recipient. And so...
Excuse me, Madam Mayor, did we approve both sets of minutes? I see on my agenda that there's actually December 11th regular meeting minutes too, and as well as a November 22nd?
Yes, I read both.
Okay, so,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah,
Didn't mean to
so we
interrupt you.
moved this late. That's
Okay.
okay, that's fine. So we have Mackenzie Cooper with us this evening. And Mackenzie is the recipient of the RSU 39 Principals Award this year. So I'll just read a little bit to you. Mackenzie Cooper of Caribou, a senior at Caribou High School, has been selected to receive the 2024 Principals Award. The award, sponsored by the Maine Principals Association, recognizes a high school senior's academic achievement and citizenship. The Principals Award is presented in more than 100 Maine public and private high schools by member principals of the MPA, the professional association representing Maine school administrators. And we actually have Principal Selfridge here this evening as well, and I didn't know if you'd like to come up and say a couple of words. Put you right on the spot. Not to put you on the spot.
Oh, that look was precious.
So I was not prepared to say a few words, but that's okay. So yes, every year we get to award to one outgoing senior the Maine Principals Award. They get a plaque and a pin. We get to go to a luncheon down in Bangor, to which we did back on April 1st, if my memory serves me correctly, where they also get to gather with all the other Maine Principals Award winners for that year. There are actually 10 scholarships that are drawn at that banquet as well. Unfortunately, she was not one of the lucky winners at that point, but I'm sure that she will do very well in our upcoming class night here in a week and a half or so as we're winding down. So it was a very easy choice for Mackenzie to be our recipient. She does well in her academics. She's a model citizen around school, always willing to help out and do whatever she can, and she's just a wonderful role model for her peers. So it was an easy choice for me, and I'm happy to present it back to her in April, and I'm happy to be with her here tonight. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Mackenzie, come on out. So on behalf of all Caribou citizens, the Caribou City Council presents this certificate of recognition to you.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Keep up the good work.
Okay, let's do a little photo op.
In fact, you were supposed to be taking the pictures too. Didn't you say that?
Well, I was teasing them.
Oh.
All right, can we get one with the council too?
Of course, all of us would like to.
Okay. Squeeze in, just squeeze in, just squeeze in.
Okay.
Perfect.
You want to have
All sorts of photos.
Principal Selfridge or Mackenzie's parents, or?
Oh, that would be great. Come on up.
Don't worry. I'm safe.
All right. Let me move this back. Stand over there,
sorry.
John.
No chair sitting here.
No chair
Everything
sitting.
is participating.
All right, and I have this microphone thing in the way here.
I can only go so far.
Okay, so everyone make sure you can see my camera, because if you can't, I can't see you. Okay, everybody say Mackenzie.
Mackenzie.
It's your day.
Good job. Thank you. Congratulations. Obstacle
Thank
course
you
here.
very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Good
Have a
luck.
good evening. Right.
Oh, that's a good thing.
And item 7B is our City of Caribou employee recognition for milestone years. So I am going to have Deputy Mayor Terrio help me out with this. You know, I shouldn't have even come to sit back down.
Up and down.
The City of Caribou is recognizing some big milestone anniversaries this year. We're very fortunate to have such loyal, dedicated, and skilled employees. Employee milestone anniversaries. Danielle Brissette, City Clerk, 5 years.
That's perfect.
No, it is not.
Here's
not
your
getting out of it.
certificate.
I thought it wasn't here.
You are here.
Thank you, Danielle.
Somebody else
Oh, look.
got here. There is a-
Again, to the rescue
There is
again. Thank you.
Ryan Hall, Fire and Ambulance, 5 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you for everything you do for our community.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Eric Dickinson, Fire and Ambulance, 10 years.
Wow.
We'll save that for him.
Michael DeVito, Fire and Ambulance, 10 years.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tony Michaud, Tax Assessment Code Enforcement, 10 years. Michael Thompson, Wellness and Recreation Center, 10 years.
Wow.
Thank you.
So our three that are here, you want to get in one picture with the council here like we did last year? Oh, yes.
We're playing musical chairs tonight.
It's,
You said do something.
I know, I'm going to take it this time. I'm going to take it this time.
I cannot make this work, so I'm just going to hold it.
all right.
Getting in here?
Jennifer, I can't see you. Can
Okay.
you, like, put your,
This
yes,
way?
right there. Perfect.
You couldn't get much more of a big smile on me for that.
Stop.
We tried to go Wednesday, but there was no place to park, and we were out the door. We didn't know if we should park.
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Yes, just do it. Yes, up and
Okay.
down.
I mean, basically, it's Ruska and the church.
Okay. I'll know next
Depends
time.
which service you go to.
They're pretty good to us. We have.
I love that. I love doing that. That's wonderful.
That's so fun.
Okay.
That really is fun.
Okay, item number 8 on the agenda is a public hearing. We have a public hearing for the on-premise liquor license for Spud Speedway. And this is on page 12 of your packets. So the city has received a new liquor license application from Spud Speedway, Inc., located at 209 Thompson Road in Caribou. Staff has reviewed the application and recommends council approve this new application. We do have to have a public hearing, however. So I am going to open the public hearing at 6:13 p.m. Is there anybody who wishes to speak? I did see him. I was ignoring him.
Okay.
Who are you ignoring?
Okay. Does anyone from the council have anything that they'd like to ask or any questions, comments? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing at 6:14 p.m.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve the liquor license application for Spud Speedway, Inc., located at 209 Thompson Road, Caribou.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Bagley?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Lovewell?
Aye.
Morrow?
Aye.
Terrio?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Great. Okay. Item number 9 on the agenda is reports by staff and committees, and 9A this evening is a presentation by Ryan Pelletier, who is our Aroostook County Administrator. Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and honorable members of the council. It's my pleasure to be here tonight with all of you. I haven't always been the county administrator. I was a town manager for many years before, so I come from local government. It's really where my heart has always been. Coming into this room is kind of nostalgic to me. When I first started out as town manager of a little town called Wallagrass, Paula Harris was your finance person and Dick Matilla was your city manager. Paula was certified to teach classes for Maine Town Tax Collectors and Treasurers Association. And in a small town like Wallagrass and other towns that I worked in, I had to wear those hats. So I came here for classes, and so it's great to be back here in your chamber. I did put together a PowerPoint presentation. The request I had gotten was to come and talk about county government services. I noticed in your agenda packet it mentioned the 6-month and the 12-month budget transition that we just went through. This presentation really doesn't go into a lot of detail about that, but I'm happy to talk about that transition if it's helpful for you. Essentially, we made that decision to move to a fiscal year budget primarily because what was happening was statutorily municipalities are required to pay the county tax by November 1st before interest starts to accrue. On a calendar year, we send out our bills in February, and a lot of towns just wait until that happens, and so cash flow becomes an issue. We'd been borrowing tax anticipation notes to operate in the interim, and that was fine when interest rates were what they were, but in the rate environment that we found ourselves in the last couple of years, it really didn't make much sense to continue to do that and borrow, millions of dollars and then pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest on those notes that, ultimately go back to you, the taxpayers, to pay for. So by moving the fiscal year, it's going to eliminate that lack, if you will, or that lull in the calendar. Bills will now go out, as you probably know, you just received the new 12-month budget bill. Those go out now in May, late May, early June, and statutorily they still have to be paid by September 1, November 1st before interest accrues. So our cash flow situation will greatly improve, and we feel that there will be no need to borrow tax anticipation notes moving forward. So with that, I'll just kind of quickly go through this. This presentation, by the way, usually takes about an hour, so I am going to try to rush through this. I don't think you were planning for me to be here that long tonight. At least I hope you weren't.
But you do have a copy. So you
Yeah,
Yes, we
we
do
have
all
it in
have a
front of us,
copy of
so, I
it.
mean,
Great, good. So just quickly, county government, Maine's oldest form of government, it predates statehood. York County was a county here in Maine when we were still part of Massachusetts. Most counties in Maine they all have either a 3, 5, or 7-member commission. Aroostook still has a 3. And the commissioners are much like you, city councilors. They're elected by the people to carry out policies and execute policies and direct policies, I guess, more than anything. Elected to 4-year terms. They're a little different in the sense that they're not considered local positions. They run just like a state representative runs, so they appear on a state ballot in November every 4 years. And they serve a geographic region, so it's based on population. So one in the south, one in central, and one in the north. But they all represent roughly about the same number of people. The 3 commissioners that we have currently: Commissioner Dobbins out of Holton, Paul Underwood out of Presque Isle, and Norman Fournier out of Wallagrass. I like to think of county government as a 2-part house, if you will. You have the elected folks, and then you have appointed folks like myself. And it's a real interesting dichotomy that exists where department heads within county government don't report directly to the administrator or the manager. Half of them are elected directly by the people. So it's a little different. Obviously, your commissioners are elected as well, and we have a finance committee that I'll touch upon later. They're also elected to those positions, and like the commissioners, run on a state ballot every 4 years. Probably the 2 most prominent elected office holders in county government anywhere, not just here in Aroostook, are your sheriff and your district attorney. There is a little difference in the district attorney that I'll talk about in a slide, but the moment he or she is elected to that position, they actually become a state employee. They're not a county employee, so they're not on our payroll. But statutorily, we have to provide through the county tax the support for that office. And those are positions appointed underneath those 2 office holders or offices. The chief deputy is the only position in county government that is appointed by the sheriff or by anybody and doesn't have to be confirmed by the commissioners. Every single employee that works for county government has to be presented before the commissioners and approved before they are hired. The chief deputy is statutorily responsible only to the sheriff. Other elected positions that sometimes aren't as front-facing but still exist and are very important to the operation: Registry of Deeds, County Treasurer, Judge of Probate, and Registrar of Probate. Those are all elected positions here in the county. Aroostook is the only county left that still maintains 2 Registry of Deeds, I think primarily because of our geography and the distance that municipalities and others would have to travel to one location to record instruments. And then on the other side of this house is the appointed members. I'm appointed by the commissioners, obviously, and then I have 5 direct department head reports. We have the EMA office, Emergency Management Agency, Human Resources Director, I'll skip over that next one, a facilities and IT director, and then a finance director. The community services director is part of county government, however, it's not funded through the county tax. It's a separate and distinct budget that is, we are responsible to develop and approve, but the taxpayers, the people that own land in the unorganized territories, fund that budget and that position. Talk about the finance committee. This came about in the mid-'80s through a charter adoption. Aroostook County was the first county in Maine to adopt a charter. I don't know specifically what a lot of the impetus was for this, but essentially in that charter requires the election of a finance committee, which is absolutely very unique, not only in county government, but also in municipal government. Most finance committees are appointed, usually as advisory. The charter that was set up for Aroostook County back in the 80s put a lot of emphasis on this finance committee and a lot of authority on the finance committee that you don't see in other places. Essentially, the finance committee, I don't want to say has the final say on the budget, but has an awful lot of influence and final say on the budget. So you've seen that last bullet point. After the public hearing, the finance committee votes to adopt the budget, sends it to the commissioners. If the budget is changed by the commissioners, it is sent back to the finance committee, and the finance committee can reject the changes by a 2/3 vote. So it's never happened since I've been here, but it's there in the charter. This is your finance committee. Like I said, each commissioner district has 3 subregions that are referred to as areas. Because of Caribou's size, you actually are considered an area all by yourself. And Dick Fourier of Caribou is elected to that position here, Area 6. But you see it's a good cross-section of folks from small communities to large, the largest community, and taxpayer size of communities, and geographically spread out from the St. John Valley down to extreme southern Aroostook and Cary Township. My office and the commissioner's office is one and the same, but ultimately, the role of my role is to appoint administrative officials and employees, execute contracts, develop the county budget, serve as clerk and purchasing agent. Maine's 16 counties, 15 have now an appointed manager or administrator, but all of us have the title of clerk. That's the statutory reference in law to what the position used to be called. And I guess you could kind of equate that to, in some communities, you have a city manager or a town manager. In some communities, you have an administrative assistant to the Board of Selectmen. In smaller communities, the clerk's role is that administrative assistant role. And like I said, there's only one county left that actually only employs the clerk. 2 divisions within administration, human resources. A lot of people don't realize the size of county government. We have 107 full-time employees, 2 part-time, 68 on-call, and 2 bargaining units represent the majority of those employees. And the majority of our employees are in law enforcement, either in the sheriff's office, the jail, or transport. So about, I don't know, maybe 60 employees total within those areas, and the rest are spread out in the different departments that I mentioned earlier. Also within administration is the finance office. We do still have an elected county treasurer. I tried to get rid of that when I first started. It requires a vote of the people, and the people resoundingly said no. So my reasoning for it was it had become, and it still is quite a ceremonial position because we have staff that actually do the work. Finance department does the work. And most municipalities don't elect their treasurer anymore. They appoint somebody to do that, and it's usually the finance director. Or in some communities, the town manager is also the treasurer, but has staff. But for whatever reason, the people of Aroostook County like electing that position, and so we continue to elect that position, but we cut the pay in half. So it really is, ceremonial in a lot of ways. Great person that's in that role. I like him a lot, and we make him work for his money whenever we can. But those are the statutory items that the county treasurer's office, which is the finance department, is responsible for. So I'm going to go through each budget quickly, just so you have a flavor of where the money goes that comes from the county taxes. The administration commissioner's budget is $894,000. A little over $500,000 of that is for salaries, 6 full-time, 4 part-time elected positions. Benefits associated with those positions, insurances, retirement, workers' comp, contractual things like training, equipment, postage, printing, our annual dues, the Maine County Commissioners Association, and then $5,000 for office supplies. You can stop me at any time if you have questions, or if you want to wait till the end, whatever you want to do. District Attorney, I mentioned earlier, is elected by the people. However, the moment he or she is elected, they become a state employee. That was done in the 1970s to bring parity across the state. We used to have 16 county attorneys that did the same job as what the district attorneys do today, but they went from 16 county attorneys to 8 prosecutorial districts. Aroostook just happens to be its own district because of our size. But in other places, 3 or 4 counties might share a district attorney. So the district attorney and any assistant district attorneys that the state assigns to Aroostook, and I think we're up to 6 assistant district attorneys, those are all state employees. They live in our buildings, they provide the county level services that they provide, but they are not county employees and they're not on the county payroll. But we are required to provide the office space, personnel support to that office, travel expenses, all the things that go with running an office, we have to pay for. And that's $883,126. That's 9 full-time employees at $484. The benefits that are associated with that, those employees are paralegals, victim witness advocates. That's about it. There might be an office manager maybe, but those are the positions. Contractual things like travel, training, audit, postage, ankle monitoring. We have a lot of folks in Aroostook County that I don't want to say should be in jail, but are not in jail because they've qualified for some program that allows them to be out, and obviously they're tracked by ankle monitoring, and there's a cost for that. It is cheaper to have the ankle monitors than it is to keep them in jail, though, I will tell you that. Other court programs and witness fees, whenever a witness has to be flown in or something like that at a trial, we have to pay for that. And then expenses are office supplies, periodicals, and things like that. Probate court, we have a judge and a registrar. The judge is semi-part-time, I'll say, but the registrar in her office is full-time, and they handle things like adoptions, guardianships, conservatorships, will probating wills when someone passes away and they may not have heirs or children or what have you. The probate court handles that and decides where assets go. Their budget is $337,000. They got 3 full-time, 1 part-time employee in that department. Those are the costs associated with probate court. Registry of Deeds, like I said earlier, 2 in Aroostook County. I think everyone's pretty familiar with what the registry is there for, mostly recording of land transactions, deeds, divorce decrees, anything really that's an important record that needs to be maintained. All of our records are online, by the way, back to 1960. You can do a search of any of those documents online. Prior to 1960, you have to go in. I think 1960 was the cutoff date, because at the time they went online, it was 40 years, and 40 years was about the amount of time you need to clear title on a property transaction. So the 2 registry of deeds together, this is one budget, $567,000, 5 full-time positions in those 2 offices, and again, the benefits, contractual and commodities. We moved to a cloud-based system for our operating system. It is more expensive than how we were doing it, I will say. However, we no longer have to pay for any equipment. So our thought was, instead of continuing to put money away in capital programs to maintain equipment, we pay an annual fee, if you will, to a software company that does it for us. That's a 5-year contract. I think next year it's coming up to bid, and we're going to reevaluate that for the next 5 years. So, majority of county taxes are in the sheriff's office, 3 divisions, the law enforcement division. Right now we're 20 full-time staff, over 18,000 calls for service last year, covering 45 towns, 10 plantations, and 112 unorganized townships. That's a little misnomer because we know that they don't go to every unorganized township. There's 9 townships really that have a density population, Connor being one of them. The rest are obviously North Main Woods territory. They'll go if there's an emergency or need, but it's very rare that we're in that area. The jail, it's a 365-day-a-year operation, 24/7. We have 32 full-time folks there, 4 part-time. We're licensed to house up to 117 inmates. Right now, we're in the high 80s, which is really great because some of the costs, which I'll get into with the jail, are tied to how many people are in the jail. Last 2 years, however, we've seen that number skyrocket. We were up over 145 people incarcerated. We don't have room for 145 people, so that forces us to board those folks out to other jail facilities that can take them, and it's $100 a day per inmate when you board. So we racked up, I think, a $70,000 bill last year for boarding prisoners. Again, that number has come down. We're happy about that, but at any time, it can skyrocket again. Transport and dispatch, 7 full-time staff there, 6 part-time. These numbers are a little dated. I haven't updated them, but 2,200 inmates have to be driven around and transferred from court appearances to doctor's appointments to you name it. There's always something that an inmate has to be given to, so the vans are on the road all the time. You have a holding facility here in Caribou, so sometimes those vans come through and pick up inmates that have been dropped off from either Madawaska or Fort Kent PD, or maybe others too that don't want to drive to Holton. We dispatch for 14 local fire departments, 4 ambulance services, and 1 police department. The law enforcement budget is $4,600,000, and that's the patrol side in the sheriff's office. 34 full-time, 6 part-time. That includes the main drug enforcement agents that work for the county. MDA is a state agency, but they're put together, if you will, by agencies sponsoring agents. I don't know if you have any, Caribou has any sponsored right now. Presque Isle has in the past. We have 3 right now that are county employees, but are assigned to the MDEA. That is 100% reimbursed by the state for those wages. We have a canine program, couple canines that assist, and that has about $15,000 annual cost. Obviously, a lot of movement with vehicles with that kind of fleet. It's $446,000 to keep those cars maintained and moving, plus the radio maintenance, tower leasing, that sort of thing. And then $51,000 in commodities for uniforms, office supplies, and ammunition. The jail is the biggest one. It is a money pit, I will not lie. It's an old building that has a lot of holes in it, and not big enough for them to get out, but a lot of repair needed. We have a facilities team that does a great job of patching things and trying to keep things together, but one of the things that's on the agenda here later is a new jail, and I don't know what that's going to look like, but if it's going to come to fruition, but right now this is what it costs to run the jail that we have. Medical contract, if you become incarcerated, you become a ward of the county when it comes to medical costs. So if you have a need to go to a hospital, doctor visit, you become sick, have a heart attack, God forbid anything worse, we have to pay for that. We used to pay for that as we went, and that wasn't working out so well, so a few years ago we put the whole thing out to bid and awarded it to a company that pretty much does this in, I think, half the county jails now. And that contract is a little over $1 million, but it does cover everything, unforeseen events. We had somebody end up on dialysis for a while, and that was covered. Contractual things such as transport, liability, you can imagine liability insurance at a jail is astronomical compared to other governmental services. Maine Municipal Association will even touch counties because of that for risk management. So we had to form our own pool, so the 16 counties have a pool insurance just for property and casualty to deal with the jails. Meals are also obviously a big cost at the jail, and that's a contract as well. We have no staff. They're all it's kind of like a college Aramark service type program. Food's not as good as college, we'll say. And then office and kitchen supplies, uniforms, prisoner clothing. And then we put $80,000 away for capital outlay. Facilities and IT, a very unique position, kind of morphed that way over time, I think. He's the person who holds this position is the longest serving county employee. He's been employed with the county since 1986. And he's probably going to be retiring soon, so it's a position that we're going to be looking at how to create this moving forward, because those two don't always go together. Someone who oversees buildings and grounds, janitorial staff and so forth, but also has information technology under their auspices. So total budget for that is $1.4 million. 6 employees in that department, full-time, 1 part-time. And then I just kind of broke it down by the different buildings that we have and what the costs are for each building. It's all in utilities and fuel and upkeep and that sort of thing for the most part. But those are the different breakdowns of the buildings that the county owns and has to manage. We also have our email network and website. That's wide area network is what we call it, 157,000. And then copiers and all those buildings also fall under facilities. That's a $32,000 annual cost. We lease all of our copiers. Emergency Management Agency is one that's based right here in Caribou. I should have mentioned that. The county government, the seat of county government is in Holton, obviously, so the majority of employees are in Holton. The administrator's office, the EMA office, the DA's office are here in Caribou. And his office, as you probably well know, is right next door to the courthouse. And EMA assists a lot with local emergency planning and a few other things too. I'll talk about that in a minute when I get to the UT. But the budget for the EMA is $264,000, with $163,000 that being salaries for 4 full-time people, with the caveat that a portion of the salary is actually for the director and deputy are budgeted in that unorganized territory budget that is paid for by the residents of the UT, because we have a unique situation where we manage a fire department, a volunteer fire department up at the North Lakes region, so Madawaska Lake, Cross Lake, Sinclair, and Square Lake have their own fire department, 3 fire stations, and the EMA office oversees that, and part of their salary and benefits associated with that are budgeted in that budget because of the time they spend doing that work. Capital budget and all other. The one good thing about your county taxes is we are debt-free. We don't owe any money to anybody. We don't borrow money. We budget, and when we have money in the reserves to buy things, we buy it. It's just the way it's always been done, and I don't see any need to change that. But a little over $1 million is for capital reserves, vehicles, equipment, building maintenance, that sort of thing. I put Spillman in there. If you don't know what Spillman is, your law enforcement folks certainly do. Spillman is our records management system that the county, geez, I don't know if you were here, Penny, or not when we did that with the.
Well, I worked in assessing.
You were, yeah.
Because I'd have to do all my deed work at 6 a.m. on Sunday mornings because Spillman took all the juice all the time until you updated your servers down there.
So what happened was all these local police departments have, record management on their own, if you will, and so did the sheriff's office. And we were at a point where we needed to do something. And so the sheriff at the time was, I think it was Gillen, said, is there a way we can talk to the towns and get them all on that system? And so we did. We talked to the towns, and the towns all said, yeah, if you're going to pay for it, we'll do it. So it was $1 million price tag to bring Spillman to Aroostook County. But what we did with that is we provided that to not only the sheriff's office, but all, at the time, 8 or 9 local police departments. So we're all on Spillman, and it's just more efficient that way. When a cop in Caribou arrests somebody, that data is entered, and a sheriff's deputy who might stop that person in Connor or somewhere else will have access to that data, and that's been working really great. I think it's been a good thing. But it is budgeted in that line for that cost. PSAP, way before my time, when PSAPs were coming, when Enhanced 911 was coming on the scene, and they were deciding what to do with that for Aroostook County. The commissioners and the administrator and probably the sheriff's office got together and talked to the municipalities, said, does it really make sense for all of us to try to start having our own PSAP? And the decision was no, it doesn't make sense. So when you dial 911 from a landline phone in Aroostook County, it's not answered in Aroostook County, it's actually answered in Penobscot County by the Regional Communications Center. That call, all that information comes up on their screen as to where that call is coming from. And if it's a fire call, who the right dispatching entity is. If it's a police call, here in Caribou, you're one. You have one dispatch center, and that call gets routed to Caribou Dispatch. In other places, it doesn't work that way. Where I live, in St. Agat, we have a volunteer fire department. We're served by the sheriff's office, and our ambulance is out of Madawaska. So that same 911 call made from my house, if I had a landline, would come up on their screen as sheriff's office for dispatch of one thing, but maybe Madawaska if they were dispatching for their ambulance, that sort of thing. So it really does depend on where you live in the county. Contingency is like the catch-all. Commissioners can put, like, I don't want to say a miscellaneous account, but it's if something goes wrong in the year and you need money, contingency is where you pull it from. We maintain $100,000 in that account for unforeseen things by statute. That's what the amount is. So in this budget, it's $25,000 that we had to appropriate because we haven't used all the $100,000 for a long time. We do fund a very small budget for the fire marshal, and 100% of that money goes right back to local fire departments. So if Caribou wants to apply for a grant through the fire marshal's office to fire prevention, they do through the fire marshal, and the money is cut to Caribou. Our audit, surprisingly, is not as expensive as one would think for the size of the county, but it's a $15,000 cost. That tax anticipation note was what I was talking about at the very beginning. It's $70,000 is what we have budgeted this year, hoping that we can reduce that completely. And then a few other things. I'm sure you probably fund some outside agencies like the CAP agency or Aroostook Agency on Aging. Well, they come to the county as well. The biggest portion of that, though, is cooperative extension. Cooperative extension, the local county committee of cooperative extension is about $55,000, I think. And that's statutorily required that the county provide for that service, so that's where that sits. Property and vehicle insurance, not counting the jail. MCCA is our Maine County Commissioners Association. GASB 75 is a requirement for, I think, health insurance reporting that's done through Maine Municipal that we're required to pay because we're a large employer. And then labor negotiations, legal, advertising, employee recognition, like what you did tonight. There's a budget for that, $84,000. On the revenue side, this is the non-property tax revenues that the county receives. Totals about $4 billion. Almost over half of that is from jail money, which, as you saw from the budget, doesn't even fund, half of it. It's about a third of it here in Aroostook County. Statewide, they're providing 20% statewide to fund the jail. And that's an ongoing battle between counties and state government and the legislature every year. It doesn't seem to go away. Darren's operation over at Emergency Management receives quite a bit of federal and state dollars to run that. So about, I don't say half, but close to half of his budget is reimbursed by the state. We are able to charge rent for some court spaces. We can't charge for Superior Court. That's required in statute that's provided for free by the county. But district court, because we have a district court in Caribou and other offices, I don't want to say the court, but probation and parole, and there's some others, it totals out to about $100,000, both here in Caribou and in Holton. Deeds and probate revenue combined, total of $650,000. So if you go back and look at like the deeds budget, they're almost a break-even operation by the fees that are charged for recording instruments. Drug Enforcement Agency, that covers the cost of those 3 employees that are sponsored by our agency to work for the MDEA. Dispatch, civil process, and other DA revenues, about half of that is dispatch contracts, those towns and nonprofits that we dispatch for. Right now, we pay for, we contract for that service, they contract for that service through us, and they pay us to do their dispatching. UT administration, because the county is responsible for that unorganized territory budget and all that goes with that, we have one employee who is paid for by the UT, but we as a county are able to tack on 5% on their budget for everything else. It's like a catch-all. So the payroll processing, the fund accounting, any time I might have to spend dealing with an unorganized territory issue, that's just a flat 5% across the board, and we use it to offset our general fund budget. A few years ago, we convinced the state to allow us to pay for the cost of one deputy and a car by the UT. It was pretty contentious because in their eyes, your county taxes should be paying for your law enforcement. Why do we need a special fund for a deputy position? And we made the case because of our size. There's a lot of unorganized territory spread out from southern Aroostook to the valley, and so can we just have the cost of one deputy position paid for wholly by the UT? And eventually they went along with it. And then we make money, copier and interest income. You're probably saying that's a lot of 25-cent pages, but a lot of that income is at the Registry of Deeds, the survey plans. Surveyors love their copies and they pay for it. And EMA makes a little bit of revenue over there too on some of those larger print maps and things like that. Unorganized territory, like I said, about 9, I think, total that have actual population, but we're responsible for all of them. We do have a director that's appointed to oversee that. We have 2,000 citizens that live in Aroostook County's unorganized territories. So if you can think of the services you provide your residents, we have to provide those, not obviously the same level of service, but we have to provide municipal type services in the unorganized territory. We have 120 miles of local road in the unorganized territory that are county roads. We do all of that through contracts, though. Very different than a municipality. We have that one employee, but every service from fire protection, ambulance, snow removal, law enforcement, library services, we contract. We generally try to contract with the municipality if there's one close by. We have several contracts with Caribou for Connor, for election services, for fire protection, for ambulance, probably others that I'm not thinking of. But if there isn't a municipality nearby, or if a municipality nearby doesn't want to do it, then we have to go out to bid and we private contract that. So we have a lot of snow removal contracts that are private contractors. We do have some municipalities that do pick up some of that, but the majority is private contractors. Our summer maintenance is actually provided by 2 general service contractors, one for Caribou North and one for, I guess, Prescott South. And they're on call to replace ditches, replace culverts, do ditching, mowing on the side of the roads, anything that we might need or develop. And just highlight again, separate, distinct budget developed by the county, paid for by the taxpayers of the UT only. North Lakes Fire Department, I won't spend a lot of time on this, but it is, we have about 45 on-call folks up there. Not up there, a lot of them live actually right here in Caribou, that respond to fires in Madawaska Lake, Sinclair, and Cross Lake. About 45 to 50 calls for service per year. That's the total unorganized territory budget, $2.9 million, and that's the breakdown of the expenses for that. It says 2 full-time equivalents. Like I said, we only have 1 truly full-time position, but if you add up the portions of the salaries that are paid for EMA staff that provide services, it equates to another 1.5 position. And I guess that wraps that up. The municipal services, this is each township that we provide services in. You can see Connor being one of the larger ones because of the population that's there. But this is their total budget. So if you look at that, if Cross Lake was a town, could they run on $56,000 a year? Probably not. And that's right straight down through. There's obviously a benefit to the regionalization of unorganized township. And the tax billing is very unique. It's kind of like the Canadian model where We develop the budget for municipal services. We send it to the state. The state takes that, adds it to the land use planning budget, taxation budget, and fire protection budgets, and then they collect the taxes. So they do the billing. The state bills people that own property in the UT, and then they just send us a check quarterly for our municipal services piece that we provide. And finally, some things we're looking at. I mentioned the Jail Study Commission. That has begun to meet. We have a consultant coming in. It's provided by the National Institute of Corrections. They're going to be here. I think I sent the date out to all the municipalities. They're going to be here for 3 or 4 days in June, interviewing people, talking to people. They'll look at the jail. They'll look at needs. Why is the jail population up? Is there some other way of doing things so that we can keep that down? All kinds of things. Ultimately, we want to come to a recommendation. Do we need a new jail? Do we need a new wing at the jail? Do we do nothing at all, just let it ride? Those are all things that we want answered. So this is step one in that process. It's going to be quite a lengthy process, I'm afraid. Charter, I only put it here because at some point we're going to have to do something. The charter's going almost 40 years old. Things have changed in 40 years. We are going to have to look at some of the language in the charter. And look at maybe doing some things differently. But that, just like a city would do, we have to go through a whole charter commission. People have to get elected to that, appointed, and it'll probably take a year to 18 months. We're coming down on the ARPA funds. We were very pleased and proud, really, to develop a program where we shared our ARPA funds with the municipalities and nonprofits. We took half of the money, $6.5 million, and gave it out to grants. You guys got a few of those. For different projects. We've just kicked off an opioid task force. The county is going to receive over the next 16 to 17 years about $2.7 million in opioid settlement funds. We've started to receive some of that funding, and we've just kind of started putting it aside. We're not touching it for anything outside of what it's allowed for. And we've just put together a task force. Their first meeting is going to be middle of June. We got quite a few folks from Caribou that are going to be on that task force. It's a 9-person task force that's going to advise the commissioners on where to spend the money, or look at, are there programs that are already existing that can use some support. Energy needs assessment, I put that on there, now I don't even know what it's for. Oh yeah, okay, so this is brand new, that's why. We work pretty closely with Aristic Partnership and the folks over at NMDC. We did quite a bit of work with them on a broadband study for the county a few years ago. This was actually an idea that they had, and we just applied for a grant. We haven't heard yet if we got it or not, but looking at the energy needs in Aroostook County. So, we were the first place in the state to have windmills put up. You see all these solar panels all over the place, but we have no connection to the grid. So are all these projects happening? But the people of Aroostook County, the residents of Aroostook County, because they're not benefiting from that, right? So their idea is, let's do a needs assessment of all of this and see, do we need a connection? That would be a great thing to answer before saying we do. No one's done that. And so this needs assessment would tackle that. And then dispatch service agreement review just came up at our public hearing by your city manager's recommendation. And so how we do dispatching now and contract with municipalities and nonprofits, like I said, is by fee-based. Is there a better way to do that? Is there a different way to do that? So we're going to kick that off this summer and start having some meetings with the municipalities, both those that currently dispatch themselves and those that are getting their dispatch services either from us or a few others that are still getting them from the state police. The state police are not adding new contracts for sure, but there's still a handful of municipalities that dispatch from the state police. So we're going to look at that. And with that, I'm done. Any questions?
Awesome.
Thank you.
Very informative.
Good, I'm glad. That was the goal.
Fantastic, I learned a lot.
It's nice to see how all of the pieces fit together, and I think we didn't really have a good understanding of that. So we appreciate this.
The true story is I put that PowerPoint together. It's gotten bigger, but the initial PowerPoint was 7 years ago when I got hired because I had no idea what the county did. I thought and that's why I highlight the UT piece so much, because I was sitting in my little office up in Madawaska and before that St. Agat and saying, why are we paying county taxes to support the unorganized territories? Because in my mind, that's all they did. Never even dawned on me that the county taxes we pay are actually providing services to the people that live in our towns. It's just a different way of looking at it. So I put that together to kind of educate myself and now use it as a way to explain the county government. So.
Sir, I did have a question on the unorganized territories. So
Yes.
how do you do code enforcement for
Good question. They don't have any, no.
Well,
no, they do.
The second part of the question is, what rule set do you use? Do you have land use ordinances at the county level that you follow?
We do
or how's
not. So when it's the only thing that the county does, the only things that the county does in the UT are municipal services, with the exception of land use, code enforcement, education, and property tax assessing. So who does them? In the case of land use, it's the Land Use Planning Commission. So there's a board. We have one member on that board from Aroostook County. The other members are from other counties that have unorganized territories. And then the governor gets to appoint one person. So they are like the planning board for the state. And they exclusively grant permits for projects in the UT. They have one regional office here in Aroostook County. I think it's over in Ashland. And so they have people that work in that office that do just what your code enforcement folks do here in Caribou, but they're doing it for all those unorganized territories in Aroostook County.
And they have set the land use rules?
Yep, they have the land use code, or a lot of it's similar, I guess, to what a municipality would have themselves.
Yeah.
They still have to have shoreline zoning like any municipality does that falls under DEP. But the actual regulation and enforcement stuff is handled by the Land Use Planning Commission. Used to be called the Land Use Regulatory Commission, but it's
LURC.
Used to be called LURC, but it is now LUPC, LUPC.
Oh, yes.
And then the education is handled directly by the state. So the Department of Education hires a person who works for the commissioner, who is the superintendent for the unorganized territory. In the county, I think we're down to just one. Connor School is the only one left. There used to be 3 that I can think of, but as populations have dwindled, those schools have closed, and students in those areas are now going to school in a neighboring school department.
Okay.
But yeah, and that is, in the UT, they really are on their own. Like municipalities and school departments receive general purpose aid for education. Big piece of it comes from the state. In the UT, it does not. It's 100% funded by the property taxpayers. They receive no general purpose aid for education. So it's a little different too.
So another question, is there a formal process that the county uses to solicit needs from each of the municipalities, and how is that rolled into your whole budget process?
I have a pretty good relationship with the towns and city managers because of my background. Yeah. So I tend to attend all the Aroostook Municipal Association meetings, and I guess nothing formal. I from time to time will survey the municipalities for feedback on things. Sometimes they come to us. It's really a two-way street. My door is always open, and they know where to find me. So,
sure.
But yeah, I guess it's been a few years, but we did do a survey a few years back, and just asked the communities, if we were looking at regionalizing services, what would be the top few things that you'd want us to look at? At the time, the thing that rose right to the top was regional assessing. For whatever reason, I don't know. A lot of small towns, I guess, a lot of small towns don't employ a full-time assessor. They contract that service. So we did that. We applied for a grant from the state. LePage administration was giving out regional efficiency funds at the time, and we got a $300,000 grant to create a regional assessing program. We quickly learned that we were going to be reinventing the wheel if we tried to do that ourselves. So the city of Presque Isle was willing to take it on. Their assessing staff provided contracted services to municipalities that wanted to participate. That grant has now ended, and it's coincidental that you brought it up, the question, because I just met with the city manager and their assessor before coming to this meeting, because they're talking about, moving forward now, what should be the next steps be. They're providing that service to 14 towns in Aroostook County. Okay. But obviously, to add more towns, it's going to require an increase in capacity, and who pays for that, and how does it, how do we fund it, those types of things. But back to your original question, nothing formal, just When Penny needs something, she calls me.
Right, so Ryan is also the president of the Maine Town and City County Managers Association too. So he has the finger on the pulse of everything. And I find that Ryan is very proactive in saying to managers, hey, you know, this has happened here, so we need to be thinking, because if it's happening here, it can happen other places. So we need to be thinking about this, and that shows in the education that they choose for the different education sessions that we have. I mean, all of you know I went down on March 29th to the latest Maine Town and City County Managers Association educational offering they had, and you know, I came back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I learned this and I learned that, and I can't unlearn this now that I know it, and you know, and that's because Ryan and other people in the state are closely watching the trends and what we should know so that we can keep our municipalities out of hot water. But is Aroostook the only one that did the ARPA money with municipalities, or?
We're the only one that did something really formal where you had to
Okay,
apply
yeah.
for the money. There was a scoring process. Others did give out some of their money. I mean, if you read the ARPA law, well, nobody read it because it was like that thick, but it was so, to me, it was so obvious that there was no way that this money was truly intended for counties like Maine counties. Because there was such an emphasis on infrastructure and things that we just don't do. You know, we don't do water and sewer projects. We don't do things that in Maine municipalities do. So to me, it only made sense to try to get that money down at the local level so that, and I was really, I'll be totally honest, I was selfish in the fact that I wanted to show that we got $13.5 million total, and we were able to match that with $13.5 million from other sources, and we exceeded that tenfold. I mean, you'd get a grant for $300,000 on a $3 million sewer project. Well, I was counting that $2.7 million all as match, you know, and that was replicated throughout the whole county. I think we're up to maybe 45 or 50 grants now to municipalities, and we've probably, instead of just spending $13.5 million, we've spent like $65 million, you know, so it made a big impact, I think.
And Caribou was fortunate to get a grant in all 3 years, 22, 23, and 24.
You were one of the only ones, I think,
Yeah.
triple play.
Well, we are hounds for cash.
Did you have a question?
Quick question, okay? Now that with the ARPA funds being, okay, liquidated, I guess we'll call it, how will that affect your budget in the coming years?
None in the, so we bit the bullet in 24, 25.
Okay.
So this budget that you just got the bill on, I don't know if
Right.
you've seen it yet, it's astronomical, I
Yeah.
will say. It has no money in there from ARPA or any other sources, so it is at the bottom of that. So you won't be seeing those kind of increases on an ongoing basis, I can say with relative certainty, unless we do something really crazy like add, you know, 1 million positions or something. The biggest challenge, I'm going to be honest, that we're having right now is in law enforcement, because we're picking up more patrol responsibility in municipalities that are closing their police departments. And there's nothing I can do in state law to charge for that. If they want to hire us to provide a deputy in their town, I can charge for that. But if they just fold up and say, it's yours, the keys are on the table, I have nowhere to go with that. We have to provide that service if a call is made. And you can only do so much with the number of bodies we have.
Well, that's my second question. Okay, so as the municipality goes, okay, one of the biggest competitors that we have in the law enforcement area is the county, okay? And it's getting increasingly harder and harder for us to compete against the county. And I realize, okay, that because of the broad range of scope of the areas that you have to cover, I can get it, okay? But how are we, okay, supposed to maintain what we have without us saying, well, to hell with it, we're going to see you.
Right.
Okay, then it puts more burden on you, which again will increase our tax, okay? Means there has to be some give or take here, I think, I don't know.
If the sheriff was here, he would tell you himself that he does everything in his power not to hire from local police departments. Now, I can't say that with a two straight face because our most recent hire came from Caribou. But it's been a while, I think, since that has happened, and you guys actually hired one from us a few years ago, if I remember correctly. So it does happen the other way too. But you're absolutely right. There has to be a bigger conversation with all the police chiefs,
Correct.
all the police departments, and we're ready for that conversation. We've had it. We started it.
We started it last year.
Because you're not alone. You know, I get that same issue in every police department, and we met last year with, I don't know, 6 or 7 of the town managers that have police departments about that issue. And then that person who kind of spearheaded that left his position. So it's time to have it again, but don't feel like we're trying to steal employees, because the sheriff will tell you, they need your police officers here just as much as they need to be providing service elsewhere, because there is an awful lot of backup that happens that we don't even see, right, in the day-to-day operational stuff. So, no, the last thing we want is to see a department fold because we're stealing their employees.
Last question I have, okay, is that what measures does the county take in order to prevent increases in county tax? In your presentation a while ago, something I was curious, I thought maybe I misunderstood it, was how you rent to yourself at the courthouse or something, like you have rental income that comes in from certain buildings?
Yeah.
And I thought you guys own these buildings.
Right.
Okay, so are you charging yourself rent in order to?
No, so we own the
I
buildings.
misunderstood, I guess. I'm
No,
sorry.
yeah, we own the buildings, you're absolutely
Right.
right. But within those buildings, the district court
Right.
is a state entity.
Okay, so you charge them rent.
So we charge them rent.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't charge ourselves rent, yeah.
Okay.
And we probably aren't as aggressive on the rental per square foot thing as we could be. I think we're right around $14 a square foot or something like that, which market rates as they are, that might be a little low. But at the same time, it works really well to have all the courts under one roof.
Oh, I agree.
Other counties where this has happened, and I've seen it, York County is a good one, all the courts moved out of the courthouse and created these great big judicial centers, which they're allowed to do. And that leaves us, the county, holding the bag, paying the bill for this big building that we don't really need anymore.
Well, that almost happened in Presque Isle quite a few years ago.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
That was a big move there. So anyways, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
You ready to shut me off?
Anyone else from the council have any questions?
If
Okay,
you do have any
thank you so
follow-up,
much.
though, I am just down the street, like literally 2 minutes away, so come see me anytime.
Thank you very much. That was great.
I'm
Thank you,
sorry, we
Ryan.
have to
Thanks.
just limit this to the council discussion for now.
I'm happy to
Sorry
talk
about that.
outside.
Yeah, I'll take 2 seconds.
Yeah, sure.
I just,
See you guys.
Thanks
Thank
so
you very much
Ryan.
for coming in. Okay, item number 9B is the March financial report.
Madam Mayor, that's actually April. I think that's a typo.
Oh, sorry, that we may not correcting from the last.
Oh, okay. Scratch that.
I'm on page 14 for the April finance. That's the narrative. I'll be working from page 15 to start. So April assets on hand at the end of the month was $11,173,315.68. Cash on hand was $5,570,749.09. Tax receivable, 3/4 of the way down the page, we collected $76,424.33. With the 2023 tax commitment, we're down to $347,237.29. I'm sorry that didn't get highlighted.
Okay.
We've collected 95.2% of our total commitment for 2023, and that's up 0.4% from last year. On the next page, we have the total liabilities towards the bottom of the page at $7,823,186.51. Moving over to page 19, our fund balance at the end of the page. We're at $3,350,129.17. Moving over to page 22, our expenses for the month of April. The middle column under current amount, we're at $701,135.30. And we're at about almost 25% of our budget, and that is 8.5% under budget year to date. Moving over to our revenues on page 27. The revenues for the month came in at $556,276.86, and we're at about 18% of our overall revenue collection. That's down about 15.1% to our budget for the first 4 months of the year. Excise tax came in at $175,985.82 for the month of April. Year to date, we're at $498,157.66. We're under budget about 1.6% year to date. Revenue sharing, we're at $111,899.29 for April. Year to date, we're at $585,880.84 under budget. We're about 4.6%, or about $94,000. I know that sounds like we're way under budget for revenue sharing, which we are for the first 4 months, but I did look up May, and that did come in over budget. It came in at $245,000, so that puts our year to date right around $20,000. So that's pretty good for revenue sharing. It's going to tick back up next month. So on page 32, the excise tax. Just a couple things I wanted to point out. So for March, we were about $13,000 under budget, the green line, compared to the prior year. But in April, we were $40,000 over compared to last year. So projection for May, we're looking at about $185,000, which would put us about $20,000 less than last year. Last year, if you remember, in May, we collected $204,000. That was our highest month ever. And maybe we'll reach it depending on what happens this week, but I'm estimating right around $185,000. We'll see how close I come.
We get revenues from boat excise, right?
Pardon me?
I said we get revenues, the city gets revenues from the boat excise tax.
Yes, but that's in a separate line item.
It would be?
Yeah, well, I don't include it in the this is strictly vehicle excise.
Okay.
Yep.
Any
Any questions? Sure.
On page 27, you're tracking at 18% collected on revenue. So being about a quarter way through the year, how concerned are you that this is tracking low?
Like I had mentioned last month, most of our revenue comes from taxation. So once we get through commitment, I'll have a better understanding of where we will be with revenues. The other one was the revenue sharing, which was running low, but it came in good for May. So last year we were about 9% over budget. I think we'll be close to, within 4 or 5% of 100%. Hopefully it's over, but a lot of that will be generated, by what comes through on commitment. I don't know if Penny has any insight on the evaluations yet, but I know we're working on them and hoping that the numbers are positive. But
I appreciate you highlighting these things that are, stand out. That helps us a lot to focus in on those things, so thank you.
And I really like your graphs. I think that helps a lot too.
Perfect.
Any other questions for Carl? What are the wishes of the council?
Make a motion to accept the city financials as presented.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Bagley?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Lovewell?
Aye.
Morrow?
Aye.
Terrio?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Carl.
Thank you, Carl.
Okay, and next on the agenda, item 9C is a code enforcement report. Take it away, Penny.
So, as you have in your packet, with warmer temperatures and the melting of snow, unfortunately, it comes to the attention of the Code Enforcement Department that some residents are not properly disposing of rubbish, which creates unsanitary conditions. The city has a few tools to deal with this issue. First, we try to reach out to the owner. Unfortunately, these structures are occupied by tenants, and the owners will not respond. Second, we can send a notice of violation that the property is in violation of Chapter 4, Article 3, the Property Maintenance Code, which has been adopted by the City of Caribou. Exterior property areas are expected to be maintained in a clean, safe, sanitary condition. The accumulation of rubbish or garbage is a violation of Section 308.1. Rubbish accumulation can lead to rodent harborage or infestation, which is a violation of Section 302.5 of the adopted International Property Maintenance Code. Our ordinances also cover health and sanitation in Chapter 6 of our ordinances, as well as in Chapter 13, Section 13-700, number 36. Finally, if the property is structurally unsafe, unstable, unsanitary, constitutes a fire hazard, is unsuitable or improper for the use or occupancy to which it is put, then the building can be declared a dangerous building under 17 MRSA Section 2851. Some of the unresponsive parties that we are currently dealing with, or properties we're currently dealing with, who have rubbish accumulation: 91 Collins Street, 1253 Prescott Road, 61 Washburn Street. I'm asking for the support of the City Council to secure buildings that pose a serious health threat to public health and safety, and to begin a dangerous building action against these properties if not cleaned up. During our public input tonight, we had a resident who's still here to make sure that we're, being held accountable for this, about 91 Collins Street. But I can tell you that, so today is the first day of our week because yesterday was a holiday, and I had an email and a visit and a call about the property. Last week, every single day of the week, I had someone come in. Now, I'm not talking about someone who's just calling. I mean, I guess they probably learned I don't have Facebook, so they shouldn't bother to complain on Facebook, because I'm not going to see it because I don't have Facebook. But people have come in, and they are just at the end of the rope with dealing with this problem. The problem is so bad that even the police department has called me to come down and look at their body camera footage to see how bad that garage is. Yeah. That's how our own people feel that it's a danger to be near this property. So I'm asking for the support of the City Council to take strong action with these inattentive property owners. Again, often these properties are tenant occupied. And I really feel like bringing it up in open session with the addresses that we're going after, I'm hoping that's going to help. And then with your permission, we're going to be going after them even harder to get these things cleaned up. And I don't even know what all that looks like at this point. But through the dangerous building action, if we feel there is an immediate danger, we can go in, and post it. We can correct it, whatever it takes, if we feel that there is an immediate danger there. And I think, based on our public feedback here publicly, and also the people that have come to my office and our own police officers, it's definitely a threat to public safety, having a building that's in that condition with that amount of garbage.
So, go ahead if you have something to say.
I just want to confirm that the one at 91 Collins Street, is that the one that's at the corner of Pioneer and Collins Street, or is that the one that's before?
Coolidge.
Right.
Coolidge and Collins.
That one is the one that was presented tonight at the public hearing, or at the public input session. That one should be added to this.
No, it is 91
It is
Collins
91.
Street.
Yes,
Right
but
there.
the one
Are you
that's
talking about the one on
at-
Pioneer
right.
and Collins also?
right. That
Yeah.
there's two there.
Mhm.
Okay, and I know because I go swing up that way quite often, but there's two there. And I think the one that Mr. Benner presented to us today is that second one. The one at 91 Collins Street, that's like further down, but.
So
and I-
20 Pioneer, that's the one that's on the corner. I
Yeah,
believe.
so I would confirm, I don't know the address, I mean, I'd have to Google Earth it or whatever, but that's the one that was presented today, and I think that's another one. I mean, this list could go on forever.
It could.
Yeah.
I'm just
But this
saying,
is a-
yeah,
this is a
no,
start.
absolutely. But we have to start somewhere.
Correct,
And,
correct.
yeah.
I mean,
it's-
no, I get it, you know, but.
These are the ones that we get the most complaints
Right.
about, and that might
Right.
be the ones that would be most likely to fit the description of a dangerous building.
Correct.
Is that 61 Washburn, is that one, the one directly behind, there's like a senior citizens home kind of by the courthouse, the brown, is that one behind that?
Yes, it would be
Okay,
behind.
I actually had a member of my church
Yeah.
say, I was working and say, get in my car, I need to show you something, and come and show me that
Yeah,
just last
that
week.
would be
So,
the one.
yes, that very
A lot
thing.
of garbage
Yeah.
in the backyard.
So,
And that's
I
another one
agree.
that the police
Absolutely.
said, look at my body camera footage. This
Awful.
shouldn't be, we shouldn't have this happening in Caribou.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
I guess here's my thought, or, what I was thinking about this, and looking at this document is that, I mean, I think you have the full support of the council. I don't think it requires a vote, but I guess it was my impression that because we do have these chapters as part of our code and part of our ordinance, that was something that was just taking place anyhow. And now that I think, we'll have someone in code enforcement that will be able to be looking after this, hopefully that's what will happen, is that these will be followed up on and these properties will be posted or whatever needs to be done.
Counselor Bagley? Sorry, you had your
I
hand up
keyed
too.
in on your word stronger action or strong
Mm-hmm.
action, absolutely be aggressive, the strongest possible action early.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wondering whether, is the city permitted to assess fines for rubbish in their yard after
Yes.
one notice?
Right. The problem has
One
been.
notice, give them a fine, right?
The problem has been in the past is that the city council did not have the appetite for that. So we were not doing that because the council did not have the
I have a
appetite
strong
to do
appetite
that.
for that.
Yeah,
personally.
absolutely.
So that's what I'm
Not a
saying,
problem
like,
with
but
that.
we have,
Yeah.
your staff has to have your support for us to really go out and just know, people, there's gonna be people who's not gonna be happy, they could be calling you and saying mean stuff,
people
you know,
not
about
happy on
us,
both sides
and
of the
we want
aisle
you to
on
be
that.
supportive
So-
of staff taking stronger action.
Well, and if I remember correctly in the past too, when people have been fined, sometimes they don't pay the fine and then it's okay, then what do we do? What's the next step? So I think that was one of the issues that has come up in the past is people don't actually pay the fine that they're assessed, so.
Well, you gotta just add it on to their tax bill.
That's right.
Yeah,
So
That's where you put
it's,
it.
And then the owners will,
Right.
they'll pay attention once they
Right.
get started.
Especially
assessing.
if they're renters.
well, and that's been honestly one of the biggest hurdles, is that they're tenant occupied. And we have owners who have lost interest in maintaining their property.
But ultimately, whose responsibility is it?
It's the owner's
The owner.
responsibility.
So if you're contacting the owner and they're not,
But we may visit them at this point.
yes, I agree.
So again, like, I think that we've gotten to the point with some of these that we have to take some strong action.
absolutely.
I'm behind you
May I-
1,000% on that.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, no, I was just giving.
May I
support.
suggest a change to the suggested wording of the
Sure,
motion? And you
sure,
tell me
sure.
if this meets your needs or not. Support the code enforcement department in taking stronger, more aggressive action to secure buildings.
That is perfect. I mean, I just came up with something, but I like that wording too, because I think we have to take really strong action, and we need to make sure that our council is behind us 100% to
Well, let's
take
take a
some
vote.
action to deal with
Let's see
this
that we are.
in our neighborhoods.
Just one last thought. First off, I want to assure the public that this doesn't turn into another Brown House situation, that this council at this time, okay, is going to take very aggressive action, and I like your amendment, but if we need to add in there fines and come up with some kind of fine schedule, if within 2 months after being sent a letter to do this, then this is what's going to happen, I think that's something we need to look at.
Well, I think we already have that,
Yeah,
don't
we
we?
Oh, do we?
Just
Okay,
our
okay,
ordinance,
good.
we
We just need to enforce
yeah.
it.
We
Okay.
need to enforce it.
Okay.
So we have in our letters that go out.
Right. You have
that
so many
fines.
weeks or.
Yeah, that you have a time,
Yeah.
and then, there's fines.
Yeah, yeah,
That can be
yeah.
assessed.
Yeah,
We haven't enforced it,
okay.
but that's,
So Dan, I think you should make that motion.
I'd be glad to. if we
Any
can.
motion.
Yeah.
It's good?
Yeah.
I
But
move
we still
that,
have to
I move
just-
that
Oh,
we,
Oh, wait, sorry, she had one more. She was just
Go
saying,
ahead.
making a comment.
We still have to deal with the courts, though.
there may be times we have to deal with the court here, but I'm hoping that we can do this within the tools that we have in our toolbox, that maybe it won't get to that, but we'll see.
Because the Brown House.
Yeah, but.
That was,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that was a different situation. We've had other dangerous building situations that we have not had to go to court.
Okay.
That one was kind of a different situation there.
Okay.
And I say stand firm, go to court if you need to.
Yeah. Yep.
It's the time it takes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's
it's,
what it
and
is.
there's time and there's expense with
Right.
that,
But I
but
think at some point, they're gonna realize we're just not gonna
Right.
take,
Yep.
to sit back and just take it anymore, and we're gonna
Yeah.
take the city back, so.
Make that motion.
here we go. I move that we declare city council support of the code enforcement department in taking stronger, more aggressive action to secure buildings which pose a serious threat to public safety, and if not cleaned up, authorize commencement of a dangerous building action.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Bagley?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Lovewell?
Aye.
Morrow?
Aye.
Terrio?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
thank you very much from your code enforcement department.
Go get 'em.
Thank you very much, Code Enforcement Department.
Okay, item number 9D.
Yeah, thank
sir.
you.
Have a good evening. Is the city manager's report. Penny, it's still you.
Back for Act Two, it's the city manager. So we have some updates here on different economic projects. So the riverfront power plants, the steam plant circular project has a new project manager after the unexpected departure of the former project manager. So the project manager and another official from US EPA, I met them at the site a couple weeks ago, and they are putting together a plan and keeping us in the loop. One of the things that I have stressed to them was that we need to make sure that we're getting the information out to the public, especially the people who live down near the power plants. Like, they need to know what's happening, when it's happening, how they're being protected from contamination. There's such a hazard down there with the contaminants that exist there, that we really have to make sure that we're educating the neighbors and the general public. So I've talked to them about using their resources at the EPA to do public outreach and to help us get out good information. And so we're going to be working on that. I had a Zoom meeting with actually 9 people. I was the 10th person on the call from DEP, Maine DEP, and US EPA. I can't stress enough, sorry, I really get choked up sometimes about this because it's something I'm so passionate about with cleaning this stuff up. But we have amazing partners with the EPA and the DEP. And we have people that work in those agencies that really believe in this project in Caribou and are really willing to stick their neck out and say, this needs to be done, these are the things that need to be accomplished. And especially since when the previous project manager was there and he visited the site with contractors, they said, this has got to come down. The only way to clean this up is for the steam plant to come down. And now that that's changed, although the EPA will tell you the memo, the action memo, was never amended to say it was coming down. So they're working off the original action memo. We have people in the DEP and EPA through their brownfields program that are saying, we need to make sure that whatever actions you're taking through this CERCLA action is enough. and that we're dealing with the contamination that exists, and that we can keep people out of there so that they're not spreading any remaining contaminants throughout the community. And some of these I will be seeing. We have a Brownfield Summit. It actually starts tomorrow, so I'll be leaving early in the morning so that I can get down there to Portland tomorrow morning for the start of the Brownfield Summit, which is Wednesday, Thursday, so that I can also connect with them, a lot of them that were on the call actually last week, because they're so good to work with us with our Brownfields project, which is the diesel plant, but also they're advocating for Caribou with this CERCLA project at the steam plant, which are two totally different programs that the money comes from, but it's still with the same result, which is to remove this contamination. So EPA has committed $1.8 million to clean up at the steam plant, and of course we have a Brownfields grant for $900,000 for the diesel plant. All of this is no match. So if people are at home thinking, what's our portion to pay on that? It's basically just the time that we have staff time, but you're paying us staff time anyway. And we have such great partners. They make it easy, to keep us informed on that. So the broadband initiative, we did receive an email from the Maine Connectivity Authority that they have reached an agreement on contract terms with Charter for the communities that were covered in the Reach Me Grant Award from April 2023. I reached out to see if we had another update to give you for this meeting, but I had no other updates from them other than that one, which was a week ago. So Thursdays on Sweden Street will begin on June 6th. And we hope everybody will come down for that. It'll be a good time, like always. The planning board is working on the Chapter 13 rewrite and also the comprehensive plan. Bird's eye cleanup. Carl and I have been working on, and I'm sure other staff in Carl's office, we're trying to gather up all of the information on what has been spent to date on cleaning up Bird's Eye. So that is ongoing. Business outreach. So congratulations to Ruska Coffee, who received a customer service award from the Central Aroostook Chamber of Commerce. And I was at the ceremony they had, and it sounds like they actually had nominations from multiple customers for this award. So that really says a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it says a lot about the business and the customers that come there, and it was really a lot of fun to go to that ceremony. The police station, the committee met last week. USDA Rural Development was up last week and visited the site. So the state director for rural development, Rhiannon Hampson, she came up. I was just so impressed with her commitment to rural communities, and it's so great to have someone who works in state government who really has a passion for rural communities like Caribou and rural areas like Aroostook County. Before our visit, they had been at the Agricultural Museum in Littleton, and when they left here, they were on their way to Van Buren. So they were getting a good taste of Aroostook County during their visit. River Road update, Versant Power was in touch. I actually talked to the employee from Versant right before the meeting with Rural Development, and so they have been in touch about moving the pole. Not a pole, it's the pole on the River Road. So it looks like that's going to be happening. I said, is it going to happen before snow flies? Because one of the big problems is when our crews from Public Works is moving snow. Oh yeah, we'll have that done in a few weeks. So that was very good news indeed. So for LED streetlights, the Highway Protection Committee has met. The list was given to a local contractor to determine costs to install different lights so that we can bring that back to see, what the budget would be, how many lights we can connect. The priority has been for intersections, so that intersections in town can be better lit. A big thanks to the police department for going around and finding kind of the dark spots to bring that to the committee. 15 Prospect Street, we've had many complaints of burning, noise, and continued dilapidated appearance. Just as a reminder to anyone who may have forgotten, July 1 is the date that he's supposed to have all of that cleaned up, and he was given that date by the courts. Personnel changes, a new code enforcement officer has been hired and will start on June 4th. We also have many open positions here in the city, so we check that out if you're looking for a job. The DOT Village Partnership, so there will be a public meeting, and it's going to be June 17th, and it's at the rec center. And that date actually just changed today, so June 17th. The Aroostook Waste Solutions, we had our last meeting on May 24th. Cary Medical Center, again, this is the 100th anniversary of Jefferson Cary's vision for a Caribou Community Hospital, and it's celebrated all year long. Other updates, Main Revenue Service was on site for the city state valuation audit this week, so everything was all good for this year with our assessing practices, reimbursements, what am I trying to say here? Exemption, current use, all of that stuff. Administrative approvals, the Caribou Country Club renewal was processed. We also had an extension of premises for Evergreen. That was what today's was. So that was just signed off today. And of course, we had Spud Speedway has their permit, and Danielle will have that ready for them tomorrow, and they can send that down to the state. So also in your manager's report, we have a couple of extra pages. Again, what's on everyone's mind right now is setting the tax rate for 2024. So the first page on page 36, this is what I had in the our packet for last month. So this is kind of a review. It's just been updated with some of the numbers because we have got our county tax bill. I just actually opened it this morning, and the council decided to pay the 6 month in 3 installments. So we've been billed for 2 months of the 6 month bill and the 12 months of the 12 month bill. So what you see here, the $1,044,146, that's what the bill was that we received from the county today. Or I opened it today. I think it was actually my mailbox Friday. School funding, just in the last week, we had the school budget meeting. And one of the things that maybe people may not realize is that the school year is different than our year. So that means when we are raising the funds for the school budget, we have to take half of last year's budget and half of this year's budget. So for this year, if the school, so on June 11th, the citizens will vote on the 24-25 school year budget. And if that passes as was approved at the budget meeting, then what we will have to raise is the $4,976,200. Then I also have our municipal appropriations. And so if all of these things stay the same, if the municipal appropriations, school, and like I said, I've been billed for the county, so that one is not going to change. Then when we set our tax rate, the tax bill that our citizens will be paying, 42% will be municipal, 48% will be school, 10% will be county. So doing just the rough math here, it would result in a tax rate of 22.35. So that would be a 2.85 mil increase over last year's mill rate. So for every $1,000 of property value, you would pay $2.85 more in property taxes. Also important to note is last year we had 496 senior citizen taxpayers that had their 2023 tax bill stabilized at their 2022 amount. So these taxpayers will be paying the increase they would have had last year plus the increase for this year. So these are estimates because we have not finished our 2024 valuation numbers. I actually had a few conversations with both Tony, who works on personal property, and Joe, who does real estate. So, and everything, you know, I think the numbers that I'm using are all good, but we don't know until everything is all done. Does anyone have any questions on your manager's report and the various attachments? Yes.
On the LED light item there, is this an existing contract with R.L. Todd that you're asking for pricing on an existing contract, or is this something that we have to put out to bid?
So we have a contract through Real Term Energy. They had the contract when we had the LED lights installed in town, and so R.L. Todd is subcontracted through them.
Yeah, so it's an existing contract.
It's an existing
that we
contract
can add
with Real
to-
Term, yeah.
And we can add to for this,
Yeah.
these new lights.
Yeah.
We don't have to compete it.
But I didn't go to Real Term to have them contact R.L. Todd, but I would have to go to Real Term
You'd
to
have
have
to
them
eventually.
installed.
Yeah, sure.
But instead of going around Robin Hood's barn, I just went to Tim and said,
Sure.
can you just take a look and see? Because he has to look to see, is there power already at the pole to put a light? Was there a light? You know, what has to happen to get a light there?
You know, on the 15 Prospect Street item, are we going to have excavators and trucks and everything at the ready on June 30th to move in
That
and
is,
clean
that
that
is
up?
certainly what a lot of people would like to see us have, is have them all ready to go
Have we
on July
contacted
the
any
1st.
contractors to do that?
We haven't yet, but
I
that
think
doesn't.
Soderberg is just waiting
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
ready. Seems like-
I have a feeling you could probably gather an army pretty fast.
I mean,
to be able to do that.
I'll rent one.
Yeah.
So I'll come from my side.
To answer your actual question, I don't have a plan right now. I mean, I don't know if he will end up getting some kind of extension.
Oh, gosh, I hope not.
I don't know.
Everybody feels he's gonna have everything burnt up by then, is there gonna be nothing left?
Well, his burn permit got revoked.
I hope so.
So he's not allowed to be burning.
Because I've seen a lot of smoke billowing from there.
There shouldn't be.
No, not the
They're-
past
they're-
week or so.
Okay, I was
but-
gonna say, because I think they shut him down
Yeah.
probably 10 days ago from them doing any burning there. so.
Finally, yep.
Going back to the streetlights, you know, hopefully we'll hear something soon,
Yes,
just
I hope
because
so.
it is kind of the start of summer and
Yeah.
people want to be out walking around the neighborhood.
Right.
So hopefully we'll get some
Yeah.
information.
I had it
off.
in my calendar to call him today, but today got away from me. But I could probably call him from the road tomorrow. It's a great thing about
Great.
Bluetooth. Like you can
Yeah.
you can be driving and returning all of your calls at the same time. Don't tell the state police.
Well, no, your hand's free.
That's right. That's perfectly safe. Okay, thank you. Okay, item 10A, under new business ordinances and resolutions, is the June 11, 2024 state primary and RSU 39 budget validation election information. That's on page 38 of your packet.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to move the start date as 8 a.m. and to appoint Danielle Brissett as election warden and Christina Drinkle as deputy warden for the June 11th, 2024 elections.
Nice.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Bagley?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Lovewell?
Aye.
Morrell?
Aye.
Terrio?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you, Councilor Morrell, for that quick motion. That was
I'm ready
good.
for the next one.
All right, wow. Then item number 10B is a Versant pole permit on the Bellier Road on page 39 of your packet.
Madam
First-
Mayor,
Just like the one sentence.
yeah,
Versant Power has submitted an application for utility location permit for a pole on the Bellier Road.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve the utility location permit request of Versant Power for plan number 24-1003-03080-100.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion. Bagley.
Aye.
Kelly. Aye. Lovewell.
Aye.
Morrell.
Aye.
Terrio.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, item 10C, a Maine DOT ADA curb ramp improvement project. And this is on page 45 of your packet.
So I would just like to say one thing about this. So this is part of a bigger project, and you can probably figure that out in your packet, which involves a considerable amount of roadway that the DOT is going to be working on. And so as part of this project, and it actually encompasses some of, in Presque Isle too, with the project, but I have to say, when I requested information from DOT, they got right back to me and provided a lot of, I think, really good information here about where these are located and how this fits into their project. And I think sometimes that we've gone through this, I know, in the capital budget process with talking about sidewalks. But when we have these road projects in town by DOT, you can see there's a lot involved with the details, having these curb cuts and having the ramps and all of this, the tip downs and everything, so it's ADA compliant. It's a huge investment for them, not just in replacing pavement, but all these other parts of the whole system. And I just want to thank DOT for giving me the information so quickly so I could put it in your package so you could get an idea of how big of a project this really is. So we will need a lot of patience from our citizens traveling this summer while they're working on it, because there's going to be a big part right in the middle of town here while this is going on. So, but just know it's progress.
Yeah, for sure.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to accept the construction over limit permit request for the Maine DOT ADA curb ramp improvement project number 027712.00.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Bagley.
Aye.
Kelly.
Aye.
Lovewell.
Aye.
Morrell.
Aye.
Terrio.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item 10D is a tractor purchase request, and I believe we have our Superintendent of Parks and Recreation here to discuss this with us this evening.
And acting manager starting tomorrow, since I'll be manager.
Everything gets approved. Evening, Madam Mayor, Council. As you see in my memo that I sent you guys last week, we have a issue with one of our compact tractor. We've had to put a lot of money into it in the last couple of years, and we feel that if we continue with it, we will continue to put money into it. And commission, we discussed it at commission level, and they definitely agreed that we should be looking at getting rid of it before we continue to put more money into this tractor. I've already spent a third of my maintenance budget so far to date, and this is not the only piece of equipment that I have on that line. I've got 3 other Z-mowers and trailers and other pieces of equipment. So I had to be a little creative on the funding of this, as we are not in the, I'm not in the time frame to replace this tractor, but with the nice trade-in value that one of the dealers has given us, and with taking some money out of the other reserve accounts, plus the trail maintenance account that this tractor does a lot of work on the trails with, that we get reimbursed back with the state. Commission felt this was a good idea, and they voted unanimously to go for it, and that's why I'm here tonight presenting to you about this issue that we have. So I can go into more detail about the funding, but it was, I put it down pretty clearly in the
Yep, you did.
in the memo. As I said, we'll I know that I put 3,500 into the lawnmower reserve for this year. That being said, that still leaves us a little bit. I think it's going to be enough to, might go out to go for a new Z-mower in July, once commitment gets settled and once the monies get put into that account. If not, our mowers are holding up well. We're hoping that we're not going to end up by mowing as much as we did last year, but right now we are.
It's growing.
We're mowing.
Yeah.
We're mowing a lot right now. So as you can see, Parks Improvement, we use this compact tractor in parks all the time. The Rails Trails program, and also the main trail maintenance account. So does anybody have any questions?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Who was groomer of the year?
Yeah.
Was that Gary?
Yes, it was
Okay.
me.
Good job, Gary. I know you didn't want a big deal, but I just had to say congratulations. Okay,
I
that's
was
that was my only question.
nominated as Groomer of the Year this year through MSA, through the whole state of Maine. And unbeknownst to me, I had no idea as I was sitting in the room they were talking about this person, and I said, geez, the more I heard, the more I figured it was me. So yes, I was Groomer of the Year this year. Thank you.
Well, we're proud of you.
Thank
You're
you.
doing an awesome job.
Thank you.
Well, while we're commending you, I need to throw a shout out in as well. So we cut a new trail down by the mill pond a year or so ago, and there was a lot of old junk debris down on the side of the trail, and you look down when you're walking on your nice peaceful walk with the birds chirping, and all you could see were old tires and just a mess everywhere. And Gary has worked really hard the past couple of weeks to start cleaning that up, and spent a lot of his own time doing that work. So we really, really appreciate
Put it
that.
on the shelf for now. It's getting a little wet down there. So if we get a dry spell, Mr. Soderberg has allowed us the use of excavators however long we need. So if we get dry weather again, I'll be back in there. But I'm thinking that if we get frozen ground before it snows, that would be the best time to do it. I know that we're really big on blight in town, and we're working on trying to take care of blighted areas. And this is, unfortunately, a blighted area that belongs to the city of Caribou, unfortunately. It was none of our issue. We didn't put the tires there. No city staff did, but it's going to get cleaned up. And when I spoke with Mr. Soderberg, he was excited about it. DEP gave me green light. You do what you need to do to get it cleaned up. So it'll get taken care of.
It is looking, even with it piled in,
Yeah,
it
at
looks
least it
much
looks-
better than
yes.
it looked
Yep.
before. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
All right,
Madam Mayor, I
sorry,
make-
back to the tractor.
Okay, Madam Mayor, I make a recommendation that we go with we allow Gary, or whoever, okay, to go with the unit from Gary's Yamaha Priority Tractor bid, and keeping that local business here in our community.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? Okay, Bagley?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Lovewell?
Aye.
Morrow?
Aye.
Terrio?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks for your patience, Gary. I know it was like a long time. You had to sit there.
don't worry about it.
For that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, item number 10E is to set up a public hearing on June 24th for the CDBG application. So the 2024 Economic Development Program application process for the Maine Department of Economic and Community Development, the Community Development Block Grant Program will open on July 1st. There's a Caribou business who is currently working with the Northern Maine Development Commission on a letter of intent to apply. We need to set up a public hearing for the June 24th regular city council meeting if the letter of intent results in an invitation to apply. If for some reason the application does not move forward, we can always take it off the agenda. What are the wishes of the council?
I
Madam
just
Mayor.
don't know why this is a city council issue to have a public hearing. Can somebody just explain why we're having a public issue on a private company who wants to apply for a grant?
Because for them to apply for money through DECD, like I talked to the person at DECD today about the process. And so for their letter of intent, we can go forward without a public hearing, but if we are going to apply for,
We apply.
Okay. let me go back. For a community development block grant, it's the community that actually applies on behalf of the business.
All right.
Right.
So that's, yeah.
That's what I was looking for.
Sorry.
Okay.
I need to go on.
That's the answer.
That's the
We don't
answer,
have to go
yeah.
any further. Thank you.
Sorry.
So, Madam Mayor, I make a motion to schedule a public hearing for the June 24th City Council meeting to meet the program requirements for a CDBG application.
I second it.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Bagley?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Lovewell?
Aye.
Morrell?
Aye.
Terrio?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. All right, moving right along. Item number 10F, we have some charter amendments for the city, from the City Council Charter Committee to take a look at. Those are on pages 61 through 73 of your packets. The first one is Ordinance 3 of the 2024 series, an ordinance amending the municipal budget process, and that pertains to the expense budget.
What's the biggest change that affects why, I guess what I'm asking is, seems pretty cut and dry, because I read through this weekend, and it actually seems pretty cut and dry, I guess. I don't know
It's
what.
just actually spelling out, these were just spelling out what an
Right.
expense is, what a capital expense is, what an enterprise account is,
Right.
actually labeling and giving a definition of those, because
Right.
they aren't in there. And we were even confused during that, especially for new counselors, as a
Yes,
new
yeah,
counselor.
you're right, yeah,
It's
that's a
good
good idea.
for us to know what
Where does it
those
say
things are.
June?
So
Yeah.
it kind of was good for us to
That's
to
what I
know.
kind of gathered
Yeah,
reading
and
through
so
it.
as new
Just
counselors come
wording.
along, it's good for them to know what each of those things were.
So really what we need to do is just introduce each of these so that we
2023.
can set a public hearing for the next
Right.
meeting.
Yeah, you're just setting like a public hearing, that's all.
So we just declare, I introduce ordinance.
So if you want to go, yeah, you can go right down through the list.
Voting and changing.
I introduce ordinance number 3, 2024 series, an ordinance to amend the city charter by eliminating the requirement that the city manager prepare a detailed 8-month financial report prior to September 15 each year.
Second.
Do we have to vote on it?
I don't know, you just have
No,
to
no.
introduce each one.
Just introduce them.
Who wants to take the next one?
Maybe this one?
Number 4.
Okay. I introduce ordinance number 4, 2024, an ordinance to amend the city charter by clarifying what constitutes a capital expense.
Thank you.
I introduce ordinance number 5, 2024, an ordinance to amend the city charter by clarifying the funding and function of enterprise accounts. You want to do any of these?
Sure.
You're doing a great job, keep going.
I introduce ordinance number 6, 2024 series, an ordinance to amend the city charter by clarifying the process for city councilor excusal from meeting attendance.
And I introduce ordinance number 7, 2024 series, an ordinance to amend the city charter by implementing a procedure for the adoption of a code of conduct for city councilors. Is that all of them? I think that's all of them.
Is it all?
Oh, then do I need to say any, is there something else about that regarding ordinance
No,
number 7? No, we don't
I
need to-
just included the sample language
Oh,
for
sample
a
language,
counselor, but it's not really part of that.
That's not-
It was
okay.
just, I guess it kind of started with a code of conduct, so I guess I thought I'd let the rest of the council know kind of what that meant from looking at other towns.
Just something good to make sure everyone's looked at before the public hearing and before.
We looked at a lot of
Right,
other towns and what they use.
Yep, a lot of other towns, what they had.
Great. All right, I think we got them all.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, item number 11 is reports and discussion by mayor and council members. So we'll go on down the line, starting with Councilor Bagley.
Just one thing, I attended the latest housing symposium that was held last week, and that's a joint effort between the planning board and the development committee, and their purpose was to focus on housing. And so this was an invite only, we'll say, assembly, and by invite only I mean that they literally sent out invitations to targeted people in the community to come and tell us what they thought, and it was a pretty good diverse group. A lot of thoughts were shared, and most interesting to me that I was looking to hear is what are those barriers for a developer to build new housing in Caribou. And so we got a very good sense of that. One of the attendees was very frank, and I think we walked away with some really, really good insight. We still need to develop an action plan. Now, what do we do with all this information? What are our first steps? But we're coming along on that. So I applaud the efforts of both the planning board and the development committee in kicking this off. I think we just have to do something about that, about the housing shortage in Caribou. So they're making progress. Thank you.
Thank you.
I heard good things about that too.
Councilor
Hi.
Lovewell.
Yeah, hi. Hi, everybody. I don't know what I have to say. Let me think. I'm tired. Happy to be here. Happy to see all of you. No, you know what? It's exciting. There's a lot of things that are going really well for our community, and just hearing all these positive kind of changes and the excitement behind some of the things and the trajectory things are going. The committees that I've been able to be part of and seeing all the kind of behind the scenes work that is coming from, volunteers and staff members and, all the different places and people and places, whatever, I'm tired. I said that already, right? So it's just neat to see how people are working hard to make Caribou this is even better place than it already is, which I already think is a great place. But so I appreciate that, and I appreciate all the hours and the hard work. But it's going to be really exciting this next week, seeing Niceland Sweden start, and we're going to have some fun activities with Spud Speedway and the nice weather. So I'm excited to see some of these fun things happen this summertime. So, and Rec probably has a lot of fun things, huh, Gary? Lots of fun things. You're going to have all the kids.
Yep.
Yay, Gary. All right. Well, anyways, that's it. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
I second all of that.
Okay.
Thank you.
What she said.
Me too. I third that. I was just going to say yes. I mirror everything you said. And yes.
I have nothing.
I'm going to tell you, I'm really excited about the blight. I'm going to tell you that right now. I am so excited that we're doing something about that. That was one of the things I was very, very concerned when I came on the council. So you have my 2,000 support behind that 100%.
Yeah.
I'm just so excited about that. Can't wait to get it done. That's all I got to say.
Thank you.
I'd like to send a big shout out to the Caribou ATV Trail Riders Club for a phenomenal event they pulled off on Saturday at the Park and Ride here in Caribou. There wasn't a minimum of 50 to 60 side-by-sides, four-wheelers, whatever there at any one time. And they went from I think they started, well, they were supposed to go 12 to 2, but it went a little bit longer than that. It was absolutely phenomenal. Big group contingent from Presque Isle came down, Presque Isle ATV Club, as well as quite a contingent from up north. But what a phenomenal event that they had. I mean, in talking to their president, he told me that they've actually superseded their enrollment. Last year's enrollment, they've almost doubled it already. So it's phenomenal. I mean, these guys are very organized. The work that they're doing on the club trails, they have an excellent little trail master there. His name is Matt Albert, and you guys probably don't know Matt, but very, very committed young man. But the work that they're putting into these municipal trails, club trails, is just phenomenal, and they did a hell of a job. It was wicked cool. And I encourage anybody, if you have an ATV and you don't belong to this club, make sure you join.
And I'm going to just jump on that topic for a second, because I would also commend Caribou Parks and Rec, because they spent a lot of time working on the trails to get them ready for the season. So, and I was on them Sunday. I was down at a track meet on Saturday, so I missed all of the big ATV events, but I did get a chance to go out Sunday, and everything's incredible out there. So.
And I'm looking forward to the replanking of the Hicks Bridge.
Yeah, that's scheduled for July. I think it's the end of July, and that's the limestone snowmobile.
It
is.
It
I
is.
told them to get a hold of the ATV club and the snowmobile club to help, because we all use it.
Absolutely.
We all use it.
Yeah.
So they got the wood in hand, and should be a joint effort, and it will be.
Okay.
So it'll be good.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Our next regular meeting will be on June 24th. And at this time, we do have an item for executive session. What are the wishes of the council?
Make a motion to go into executive session.
You have to read the.
Oh, okay, I forgot. That's for real estate matters pursuant to 1 MRSA Chapter 405.6.c.
All right.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion? Bagley?
Aye.
Kelly? Aye. Lovewell? Aye. Morrow? Terrio?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. All right, we'll take a little break, a 5-minute break before we reconvene. Thank you, everybody.
Danielle has things to sign.
Oh, if everyone could please turn off their microphones.
Yeah.
So, Orno's good?
Yeah, yeah, I already signed up on there.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, that gets done just by me, so.
Yep.
Quick and easy.
Thank you.
It's all right.
We gotta sign.
It's completely understandable. You can sign a Spud Speedway liquor license and then a curb cut license or 80.
Was this one of the addresses that was on the?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, that's 91 Collins.
Just keep adding them on there, huh?
Listen, I'm just happy. I convinced my neighbor to get trash pickup after 9 years of being their neighbor.
Good for you. What they do with the trash?
It's in their house.
That's disgusting for
How
9 years.
on
How on earth?
I don't need, I